Good evening, Makayla. Thank you for coming on Sports Talk with C.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, girl. So tell me what it was like growing up in New York City. Well, New York, I should say. Let me put the city in there.
Yeah, I'm from Albany, the Colony area. It's good. Basketball is pretty big from where I'm from, so there's good competition, lots of AU teams. So I've only ever known it here in Vermont, and I really like it here.
Okay, so what was the reason that you picked up a basketball?
Um, I didn't start very early. I did soccer for a while,
Ooh.
but I did like a after school 2 days a week, just like a extension of gym basically for fun.
Hmm.
And then there were travel tryouts that she just passed a poster out to each of us or like a flyer. And I kind of went home with it and was like, I kind of want to try this. And so from there it started. That was about fifth or sixth grade. I started basketball.
Okay. And you said you played soccer, right?
Yeah.
How has that helped you in your basketball game?
Ooh. I think just being active from a young age.
Okay.
So like being athletic or, sports weren't brand new when I picked up a basketball. I had already been running a lot with soccer. So all two of my siblings, all three of us did soccer when we were young. And I think just being active in that way helped me.
Okay. So as a child, who did you look up to as a basketball player?
Oh, I'd say anyone from the men or women's Siena team because
Okay.
that's a local team for us. And when I was younger, I used to think that they were just like celebrities, like top list,
And we
we
all have those.
yeah, me and my dad would watch the men's play over at the Times Union Center, and I just remember like being in that arena and thinking like, whoa, this is it, like this is it. And then later on, a couple years later, I'd go watch the women play and had courtside seats one season, and I just thought that was it. So really, there was one forward on the women's team. Uh, Her name is slipping my mind, but I remember watching her and just thinking she's tough. Like she's not necessarily the tallest out there, but
Hmm.
she's using her strength and that kind of help see someone like me. Like I'm stronger than some of my other opponents, but I'm rarely the tallest out there in my position. So it was nice to see someone like succeeding in the forward or center spot that wasn't necessarily the tallest, but was strong
Hmm.
and was using that to her advantage.
Okay. I read that you had helped win Section 2 AA championships like in your sophomore year. I'm trying to make sure I get the name right because I was writing this down. I'm like,
Yeah, we're double A section. So it was just because our school was that big. That was the
okay.
section we played in. Yeah, sophomore year we won the championship. That
So
was
explain that feeling and explain to me what it took to win a championship that year.
uh, the feeling is definitely like that goosebump. Every kid wants to go to states or win the big game. So it it was definitely just a great feeling. I loved that team that year. We all got along really well. What went into it was I think everyone's drive and passion that year was a different spark
Okay.
that I had throughout high school was with that team. People were just bought in that year. We wanted it. There may have been other teams that were could have been more talented, but we wanted it the most. Like we
Right.
were the driven ones. We fought for that, and that was a great feeling to finally get to Hudson Valley, be on that court for the championship game, and
Big
it,
stage.
yeah, it's just one of those feelings you can't really describe. It's like when you're younger, you picture stuff like that happening, and so
Mm-hmm.
feel that, and when that final buzzer sounds, if you're on the bench to like run out and like meet your team and everyone's like jumping and going crazy. It was emotional. I loved it. It was a great feeling.
I know that's right. So here you are now in college. Can you please explain to me your recruitment process? Was it easy? Was it hard? How did you come to choose St. Michael's?
Recruitment was stressful, but but it was one of those things where it was exciting too because
Okay.
You're getting calls or emails and it's coaches reaching out and they want you, like they're telling you how good you are, so it was definitely like an ego boost, or it felt good for people to like reach out and want you to play for them, but it was stressful. I played for Havoc and we traveled a lot, so that was fun. I did like traveling a lot. How I chose St. Mike's is actually an interesting story. My sister went to St. Michael's. She graduated 2020, and she was the reason that I didn't want to go, because I wanted to, and it was nothing against her, nothing against the college, but I just wanted to have my own experience, and do something different. So it wasn't really in my bubble of colleges that were necessarily looking at me in the beginning. But when Coach Bullhart reached out, I like immediately to myself was like, no, like I don't want to go to St. Michael's. I want to do my own thing. I had already been looking at schools in the NE10 that, piqued my interest, but my mom was like, no, you gotta like just look, just like go, give it to her. I'm like, I've been to St. Michael's.
With experience, right?
Like, yeah. And I did. I went, and as soon as I met Coach Lozo and Coach Bullhart, it was like I literally tried going not to like it, and I couldn't not like it.
Sold.
Yeah, it was sold. I think I did 2 visits, and I waited until the second one to commit, but I had known like from the first one. I could have told her right then and there, like, yeah, I'm coming here.
All right. Speaking of coaches, how important is it to have a coach that understands you, that listens to you, that encourages you when trying to perfect your craft?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. I have had very different types of coaching styles throughout my career. But it wasn't until I went to Havoc and played under Terrence Florence that I had a whole newfound level of respect for a coach.
Okay.
The passion that he has when he's coaching his girls is so contagious and just makes you want to work harder. He gets in your face, he screams at you, and it was a whole different level of, intensity that I had just been introduced to. And I didn't respond to it great at first, but I learned to love it. I did learn to love it. And it was that kind of intensity and in your face, like you need to work harder, but it was coming from a place of love. Like he knew that you could do better. And so it was a really nice and refreshing feeling to have a coach that was yelling at you in a good way. Like, I know you can do better.
Right.
And so that kind of mindset is just contagious, like constantly striving for more and constantly wanting to do better for your craft. So he not only enhanced my skills, but changed my whole mindset on basketball and improving, my craft.
Oh, wow. That's good. I've heard some stories where coaches had pushed them away from the sport. So to hear a young lady tell me that coaches had a big impact is absolutely amazing. I want to know, how do you get ready for game day?
Well, okay, home games. Me and some of my teammates will go to Hype Nutrition, which is like a tea place in Vermont. And so we go there on game days, get our teas. They're like caffeinated, so we're like ready to go. And I think it's right before we go out to warm up, we're blasting music, all different kinds of music. I couldn't even probably tell you half the songs we listen to, but it's just that like loud in your face, like, let's go. So yeah, teas and loud music.
Teas and loud music, that gets you going, that gets you hyped up for the game.
It does.
Well, that's good. Some people say they meditate. Some people say they don't do anything. I feel like I would be like you. I need to get going.
I think because I'm constantly either excited or nervous excited, I can't like sit still. I wouldn't be able to, control my breathing or meditate. I'm just too like, it's game day. Like, let's go. Like I wouldn't be able to relax. So.
And when you speak of nerves, but when you touch that court, when that foot goes on the court, are the nerves gone, or does the nerves build even more?
The nerves are gone, I'd say, for the most part. In the beginning, for me, the first time I stepped on a college court, it was also right after an injury. So I tore my ACL freshman year. And so sophomore year, my first game coming back, it wasn't just my first college game, it was my first game after that injury. So it was like a whole different level of fear and nerves. But once you kind of got into the swing of things, you just kind of fall into the game.
And how did you keep going and wanting to play basketball through your injury your freshman year? Because I know that it's your freshman year, new territory, new school, new coach, new players. How did you get through the process of recovering and coming back and wanting to play?
Um, I remember one of the first appointments I had with my surgeon after I had tore it was he asked me, "Do you want to still play?" And I was like, what do you mean want to still play? Like, I didn't even know that was like an option to think, when I tore it, 1,000 things go through your head, but I was just thinking of like, oh, I can't wait for next year. Or, how are we gonna, get through this process quick enough to get me back? So when he asked me if I wanted to have the surgery do I want to play basketball? I was like, it's a dumb question. Like, yes, of course.
Like, hello, of course I want to
like,
play.
yeah, that's why I'm here. So yeah, that
gotta
honestly,
get me right.
Yes. So the question of whether or not to play wasn't even a thought in my mind. I knew I was gonna stick with it. Obviously, this was just a bump in the road, a pretty big bump, but just a bump. So yeah, getting through it. It was also during COVID, so there was like 1,000 new variables to get through and problems that would come up before surgery, things like that. But my family and my teammates were just my rock. Unfortunately, fortunately, I had a lot of teammates that had also torn their ACL.
Ooh.
So I had a really great support system that could offer different ways of supporting me. Like, yeah, this sucks, but like these are the things you're going to do and can do to get through it. So that was something that meant more to me than they'll ever know, being able to ask some specific questions and, offer advice like that. But, my family was insanely supportive throughout the entire process still now. And the coaching staff, I'm just so grateful for the people that were around me when it happened and that supported me throughout, the recovery process. I'm very grateful for the people that were around me during it.
That's dope. Support is always amazing feeling to have. But I want to talk about a funny story. Since you go to St. Michael's and it's in Vermont, right? So I was in my freshman year of college and I met my friends from Vermont and it was Christmas break. You know how everyone goes home. And I'm like, oh, I was in Mass. I live from Providence. It was an hour and a half. I was like, oh, I'm going home. They're like, yeah, we have to. I'm like, oh, so when you guys going on a plane to get to Vermont? I thought Vermont was so far that you had to take a plane. And then like, they're from Brattleboro. It's like Sierra. Springfield is right there. Like it's it's closer to us than you are to Springfield. I was like, wow, I never knew how close Vermont was. But what are your goals for your upcoming season?
Team goals to just win more. 100%. We're doing a whole culture change where we just got to change our mindset and get those wins. On a personal level, I want to be on the court more, and not coming from a selfish perspective, but from a perspective where I truly believe that me being on the court is a step in the right direction to try and get more wins. And I want to, increase my shooting percentage. I want a better free throw percentage. I want more blocks. Just everything we did and I did wasn't good enough. We didn't get the wins we wanted. We didn't have the season we wanted. So just intensify absolutely everything.
Ready for a comeback season?
A comeback season. And to say that kind of sounds like, is that like a reachable goal? Is that too extreme? And it's absolutely not. It's more just a mindset change that we'll have. And so yeah, just intensify absolutely everything.
Okay. If you can describe your game in one word, what would it be?
Tenacious.
Tenacious? Ooh, that is a good one. Why is it Why is your game tenacious?
I think just that determined, like persistent, willing to not give up and to give your all. Just that grit.
I like it. This is the first. I get some words that are usually the same, but tenacious is this is the first time, first time for everything. So when I was reading and trying to get to know more about you, I don't know how true sometimes the internet is 50-50 with facts, but I did get it off your school website. I'm hoping that this is true. But you coach AAU?
Yes,
Okay.
I did for one season. I've coached a lot of basketball, believe it or not, for my age. I started coaching a youth program with my brother, like for my brother when he was younger. I did that for 2 years with my dad. And then I moved to the travel league, like the Colony Travel League that I used to play in. I was an assistant coach for that. And then in high school, well, that was also in high school, but my sophomore and junior year, I was the unified coach for the basketball team at the high school. And then I was supposed to be that my Havoc's AAU coach for a younger team, but COVID happened. So we did a lot of like virtual things, or we got together for practices, but there were never ending. We never ended up playing games.
Okay. So what is the best part thus far about coaching?
Oh, I think being able to like influence their confidence in themselves, especially at a young age. I think that's so crucial for a coach to be able to do, maintain the level of confidence and love for the sport.
Right.
I definitely think at a younger age, you should be more focused on keeping their love for the game and their, the confidence in themselves than the wins and losses. And I think sometimes if a coach loses that, that's when you might lose players. You said that sometimes you have coaches that can make or break it. I think it happens at that, that middle school age where whether they choose to stick with it and get serious or they kind of get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely that. I also just love to see them so fiery and so like burst with energy where they don't care if they have to go run like 10 sprints. They're like happy to do it. And they just have so much energy.
Wait till they get older. They're going to hate it.
Yes. I love seeing that. It's refreshing to be like, oh, you want us to go run a mile? Like, let's go do it. Like, so yeah, definitely that.
And what has been the toughest part about coaching? If there is any tough part.
The toughest part. Probably. Oh, the toughest part. Maybe like at a younger age, sometimes they're not always completely into it.
Okay.
So I think like for me, I was obviously serious about basketball when I was a little bit older, but transitioning from like the Havoc type of people, even when they're younger, to like maybe the travel or like the church leagues, they're just like in it for fun. And so sometimes I got to remember that when I'm trying to be like, listen, like, let's get this, or let's add a couple more plays. And sometimes they're like we're 12.
We don't really care.
So just remembering like that, they're kids, like to, it is for fun. Obviously it's fun to coach, but that intensity doesn't need to be there quite yet. So remembering that might be the hardest, because I just want to like them to get better. I want to win.
Yeah, right. But you want them to have your mindset.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of now, who would you say is a person that your game mimics or a player that you like to watch?
Probably Tamika from Indiana.
Okay.
I'd say that because she's kind of like an in between. She's not necessarily the tallest on the court all the time. She's got to get crafty, use some other skills. So probably her.
Okay, nice. What would you like to do after your college career has ended?
No idea. I've changed my major 3 times now. It's currently psychology. I don't know if that's what it'll be next semester. Like
Good luck
I
with that.
I just like so many things. I'm really into graphic design. I like criminology. So those are both my minors right now. My major psychology. So I don't know right after college. I know in the future, whether it's kind of at the end, I definitely want to coach.
Okay,
Um,
nice.
sure. I just don't know, at what point that'll happen. But that's definitely something that I want to do.
And who do you look up to as a coach?
Terrence Florence from Havoc.
Okay.
Like I said, he completely changed my game and my mindset on basketball. Um, he's just so passionate about his girls and the way he coaches. Like I said, he'll get in your face and scream at you, but it's coming from a place of love. He just wants to see you do better and to send those girls off to college. So, 100% him and any coach that fell under Havoc, Tony
Okay.
Karate, Billion. That whole mindset and intensity is something that I really looked up to, and that changed me as a player.
I like it. And if one of your AAU kids or any kids that love the game of basketball came up to you and asked you for some words of advice, what would they be?
um, to not seek approval from others.
Nice.
Your self-worth or your skill is not dependent on one person's opinion, nor should it be.
Not to seek approval from others.
Yes.
Nice. Well, thank you, Makayla. I thank you for coming on Sports Talk with C. And you have a good evening, okay?
Thank you so much.